My parents cut my kid off from gifts at Christmas, while my brother's kids received new iPads, $500 each, and a game console. My little girl cried, "Why don't Grandma and Grandpa love me?" I calmed her down and we left. That evening I closed the joint account. And that was just the beginning. I don't usually talk about my family much. Most of my friends just assume I'm one of those people who doesn't like drama, or maybe that I moved far away for work or peace of mind. But the truth is uglier than that. And it all came to a head last Christmas, when my 6-year-old daughter looked up at me, her hands empty while her cousins tore through gift wrap like animals, and asked quietly, "Why don't Grandma and Grandpa love me?" I'll never forget that moment. Ever. This wasn't the first time my parents had played favorites, but it was the first time they made it so official. They've always adored my brother Brian. He could do no wrong even when he flunked out of college and floated around jobless for years. I was the one who helped them with bills, paid their car insurance, sent them grocery money when Dad's investments went south. Never asked for anything in return. But Brian had a talent. He knew how to show up just enough, say the right things, pretend he was successful. They ate it up. I used to wonder if they believed their own delusion. This past Christmas I arrived with my daughter around noon. I brought the gifts, which I had spent way too much on. A brand new coffee maker for Mom, a set of golf clubs Dad had been drooling over all year, a $200 spa gift card, plus personalized photo albums of my daughter through the years. Thoughtful, careful, heartfelt. We placed them under the tree and I was already eyeing the food table when I noticed something strange. There wasn't a single gift labeled for my daughter. I figured maybe they were still in the back. Maybe they forgot to label them. Something. Then Brian and his wife arrived. Their kids, both older than mine, went straight to the tree and I noticed how the labels were carefully arranged facing outward. To Jason, love Grandma and Grandpa. To Allie, from your favorite grandparents. And then the avalanche started. iPads. Literal new iPads. Brand new game console. Fancy noise-canceling headphones. And envelopes. My niece opened hers and screamed $500. Like she'd won the lottery. Because she basically had. My daughter got nothing. Not one card. Not even a pair of socks. My mother didn't even acknowledge it. He just said, "Oh, the girls are getting so big." And my dad offered my daughter a candy cane from a plastic bowl. That was it. My daughter tugged on my sleeve when the gift-giving calmed down and whispered her question. And I knew in that exact moment that something broke in me. I calmed her down as best I could, lied about Santa being confused this year, made up a story about extra presents waiting at home. We grabbed our coats, left the gifts I brought for them untouched under the tree and left. No goodbyes. Just silence. That night, while my daughter slept curled up next to me on the couch, I sat at my laptop and closed the joint account I shared with my parents. It wasn't a big account, just something I opened years ago to help them pay bills when their bank kept bouncing payments. I paid the electricity, the internet, sometimes their phone bills through it. I transferred every cent left to my own savings, deleted the autopay settings and scheduled the final closure. Then I opened the closet and started gathering up the gifts I had bought them. Unwrapped the golf clubs, found the receipt. Dug the spa card out of the envelope. Everything was going back. They wanted to make it clear who they valued. Fine. Message received. But that night, as I watched the snow fall outside and held my daughter tighter than ever, I decided something else too. That wasn't the end. That was the beginning. The morning after Christmas, I stood in my kitchen staring at the gifts I had bought for my parents, still sitting untouched in their shiny wrap. I couldn't even bring myself to take them out of the trunk the night before. They hadn't deserved them. The spa gift card went up for sale first. Someone bought it within 45 minutes. The golf clubs had to be returned in person, so I took them back to the store that afternoon. I found the receipt for the coffee maker too, still folded in my wallet, and packed that up for a return as well. I'd spent over $700 trying to make their Christmas special. Instead, they humiliated my daughter. I used that money to give her the Christmas she deserved. A new scooter, the dollhouse she'd pointed at in catalogs for months. A full art kit with every brush and pastel you could imagine. I wrapped them myself while she was at her friend's house and set them up under our little tree. We celebrated the next morning, just the two of us. She squealed and danced around the living room, and for a few hours, everything felt okay. I didn't call my parents. Didn't text. I waited. Took 2 full days. My mom called, her voice already sharp. She asked why her phone bill hadn't gone through. No hello, no, how are you, not a single question about where we'd gone or why we left. Just why didn't the payment go through? I told her the joint account had been closed. That I moved the money and turned off autopay. She paused. Then said, "You should have told us. That account was for the family." That word again. Family. So I asked her, what about my daughter? Was she not family? Was she invisible to them now because Brian's kids got iPads and she didn't even get a card? I told her my daughter cried in the car on the way home. Asked me why her grandparents didn't love her. I said I hoped they were proud of the answer I had to make up. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even try to explain it. Instead, she said Brian contributes more to the family. I thought maybe I misheard. I asked her what exactly he contributed, because I hadn't seen him pay a dime for anything. Not for them, not for me, not even for his own kids. She said he brought them a wine basket last month and helped Dad put up new lights in the garage, a $40 gift basket and a screwdriver. Meanwhile, I'd been paying their bills for years, quietly without asking for recognition. I covered their medications last winter when Dad's insurance lapsed. I paid for the car repairs when Mom's brakes failed. I sent money when they said the power might be shut off. She didn't seem to remember any of that, so I told her we were done. I hung up. That night, I logged into every platform I still had access to. I was listed as the payer on their internet bill. Cancelled. Their cable account. Gone. I deleted the grocery delivery service I'd set up for them, cancelled the pharmacy auto refills. Every little thing they depended on that came from me I shut off. A few hours later, Dad texted. He said I was being dramatic. That they've always loved me. That I was acting ungrateful. I blocked his number. The next day, my brother Brian sent a text. No apology. No explanation. Just Mom's upset. You should probably fix this before New Year's. Fix this. I didn't respond. That night, while tucking in my daughter, she asked me quietly if Grandma was mad at her. I told her no. That some grown-ups get confused about how to treat people, and when they act unfairly, it says more about them than it does about you. She nodded and held her stuffed cat a little tighter. That's when I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not the way I thought I would be. I wasn't sad either. I was clear. And I wasn't even close to done. By December 28th, the silence had become almost satisfying. I hadn't heard a single word about my daughter. No apology, no explanation, not even one of those fake half-hearted messages my mom used to send after a fight. But the other kind of messages started coming. The kind that showed they were finally realizing what I'd done. It started with a text from Mom. Karen, the grocery order didn't come. Did you forget to renew something? I ignored it. A few hours later, your dad says the internet is out. Something about the bill? Can you fix it? Oh. I could, but I wouldn't. Then came a flurry of calls. Blocked numbers, unknown numbers, even one from a random local pizza place. They were trying to catch me off guard. I didn't answer a single one. The next morning, Brian called. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. He started the call with a sigh, like he was the one burdened by all this. Said Mom was worried sick, that I was overreacting, and that I needed to stop making things harder than they need to be. He used that calm, smug voice he always does when he thinks he's being the reasonable one. I told him I wasn't overreacting, that they humiliated my child on Christmas morning. He said, "You're being dramatic, Karen. They didn't mean it that way. You know how Mom is about money. Brian's kids are older, they're just easier to buy for." I almost laughed. So a 6-year-old doesn't deserve a present because she's too young to spend money on? I asked him point blank if he noticed that my daughter got nothing. He went quiet for a second, then said, "Yeah, but it's not like it was on purpose." I hung up. An hour later, I got a text from him. "Mom's crying. Dad says you're trying to punish them. Maybe just apologize so everyone can move on." Apologize. That word sat in my chest for a long time. I opened my laptop and started going through my files. Every transfer I'd made to their account, every bill I'd covered, every grocery order I'd placed. I wasn't trying to guilt myself. I just wanted the facts. 3 years. Thousands of dollars. Quiet help they never acknowledged. And they had the nerve to say Brian was more invested. By evening, the situation escalated in the most predictable way possible. My mom posted on Facebook. It was one of those vague guilt trap posts that people over 60 love to make. It's always the ones you do the most for who hurt you the most. This Christmas broke my heart. Family isn't what it used to be. The comments rolled in immediately. Their friends, people I hadn't seen in years, left messages like, "Oh no, what happened, sweetie? And I hope your daughter realizes how lucky she is to have you." One even said sometimes kids just forget who raised them. I sat there reading it all, my heart pounding, but not because I was angry. Because it was so typical. They weren't embarrassed about what they'd done. They were embarrassed that I had stopped tolerating it. I didn't respond, but my friend Jenny, the only one who knew everything, did. She commented, "Maybe tell the full story before pretending you're the victim." Within 20 minutes, the post was gone. That night, Mom sent me an email. It was long, 3 paragraphs of passive-aggressive guilt. She said I'd humiliated them, that I'd made them look bad in front of people who care. That all they ever wanted was a fair relationship with both their children. She even wrote, "Brian doesn't keep score the way you do." I stared at that line for a while. And then I realized something I probably should have realized years ago. They didn't want fairness. They wanted control. I didn't reply to the email. Instead, I quietly went through every single account and service that still tied me to them. Their Amazon Prime. Cancelled. Their pharmacy account. I removed my payment info. Their streaming services. Gone. Even their emergency contact forms at the doctor's office. I wasn't going to be responsible for them anymore. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Dad. Short, cold, and exactly what I expected. You're making a fool of yourself. We've always loved you. Don't let your pride ruin our family. I deleted it without answering. That evening, I took my daughter ice skating. Just the two of us. We got hot chocolate after, sat by the rink watching the lights reflect on the ice. She looked up at me and said, "Can we stay home on New Year's too?" I told her yes. Because for the first time, I realized home didn't mean my parents' house anymore. It was wherever she and I felt peace. And this year, peace was the only thing I wanted. But as it turned out, my parents had other plans, and New Year's Eve wasn't going to be quiet at all. By December 30th, my parents were in full-blown panic mode. I had cut them off from every financial tie they had to me, but instead of accepting it like adults, they doubled down on guilt. Another email arrived that morning from my dad this time, subject line, "Please don't be rash." Inside was a pathetic attempt at negotiation. He offered to restart the phone payments, if I would just show up for dinner on New Year's Eve. He wrote that they'd saved me and my daughter a seat. That they had something special planned and it would be a shame to let pride ruin it. That made me pause. Because it didn't sound like an apology. Sounded like a setup. I texted my friend Jenny and told her I had a weird feeling. She said just stay home, but I couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, they were planning to use my daughter. So I called Brian's wife. We're not close, but we've always been polite. I figured she'd ignore my call, but she picked up. I told her I heard my parents were planning something for the New Year's Eve dinner, and I just wanted to make sure it didn't involve dragging my daughter into more of their garbage. There was a long pause before she said, they bought Brian's kids new matching outfits for some kind of family photo. Said they wanted to post something to show unity before the new year. Then she said this. They printed out a picture of your daughter and said they might include her, just for show. I told them it was a terrible idea. I didn't even say goodbye. I just hung up. They were going to stage a photo with my daughter in it, using an old picture, to make it look like we were still part of the family. That was the last straw. So I made a decision. I wouldn't just skip dinner. I'd make it impossible for them to pretend we were ever there. First, I sent a message to every relative who usually attended that dinner. Short, calm, but direct. I told them that my daughter and I would not be attending because we'd been excluded and disrespected at Christmas. That we were not part of any family photo they might see. And that if they had questions, they were welcome to ask me directly. Then I did one better. I posted a single photo on social media. My daughter and I at the skating rink smiling. Caption. This year, we learned that family isn't about who gives you gifts. It's about who shows up when it matters. Happy New Year from our little team. It exploded. Over 100 likes in an hour. Friends, cousins, even people I hadn't spoken to in years commenting things like you two deserve so much better and sending love to your beautiful girl. My mom saw it. I know because she tried to comment, but she was already restricted on my account. At 8:17 p.m. on New Year's Eve, I got a final text. From a new number. You embarrassed us in front of everyone. We bent over backwards to keep the peace. Don't ever come back to this house. That was the surprise, I guess. That after everything they still thought I wanted in. At 8:21 p.m. I deleted the number. At 8:25 Jenny showed up with pizza, cupcakes and sparklers. We stayed up until midnight. My daughter fell asleep on the couch in her pajamas, glitter on her cheeks, her new dollhouse assembled behind her. At midnight Jenny and I went out on the porch and lit 2 sparklers. I watched the sparks fizzle into the night and felt something unexpected. Relief. They had shut the door. But I was the one who locked it. The morning of New Year's Eve I woke up before my daughter. It was still dark out and the house was silent except for the hum of the heater. I made coffee and sat at the table scrolling through my phone, already expecting what I was going to find. 21 missed calls. 3 voicemails. A dozen texts. Most of the numbers were unknown. A few weren't. One was from my Aunt Rhonda, another from my cousin Lisa. The first voicemail was from Mom. Her voice sounded forced, like she was reading from a script. We hope you'll still come tonight. Everyone is expecting you. It's time to stop this. You're part of this family whether you act like it or not. The second voicemail was shorter. Just Dad saying, don't make a scene. You've already embarrassed yourself enough. The third voicemail wasn't from them. It was Lisa whispering into her phone from what sounded like a bathroom. Karen, just wanted to let you know, they're planning to talk about you at dinner tonight. Like in front of everyone. You should know. It's weird. They're passing around that photo of you and Emma from Facebook like it's proof of something. I played that voicemail twice. Not because I needed to hear it again, but because I wanted to burn it into my memory. They had printed out a photo of me and my daughter and were planning to hold a discussion about us at New Year's Eve dinner like it was some kind of trial. And somehow they still thought I'd show up. I spent most of that day not angry but quiet, focused, cleaning, baking, making my daughter's favorite cinnamon rolls from scratch. We watched movies, painted our nails, played board games. I didn't talk about what was going on and she didn't ask. She was just happy to be home. Around 6 p.m. I got another message. This time from Jenny, who was texting from the dinner table of one of my extended cousins. Your parents are unraveling. They brought printed emails. Like literal printed screenshots. They're claiming you're unstable. Brian just keeps sipping his drink like none of it's about him. That was the moment I stopped feeling hurt. They weren't just trying to guilt me. They were trying to erase me. Discredit me in front of the people I grew up with. Control the narrative. And the saddest part? They never once mentioned my daughter in any of those messages. Not to ask how she was doing. Not to say they missed her. Not even to lie and pretend they cared. She was just a side character in their story. So at 8:03 p.m. I called them. One final time. My mom answered. Her voice was sharp, like she was already mid-argument. I didn't give her the chance. I said everything I needed to say in less than 2 minutes. I told her I knew about the photo. The emails. The comments they made in front of everyone. I told her that I no longer considered them family, not in the way that matters. That I wouldn't be coming over. Not for dinner. Not for birthdays. Not for anything. I said I hoped they enjoyed their party. I hoped Brian made them proud. Because they'd finally gotten what they wanted. A version of the family where I didn't exist. She didn't say much. But right before I hung up she muttered, "You're going to regret this. You'll end up alone." I didn't reply. Instead I looked at my daughter who had fallen asleep on the couch surrounded by her new art supplies, crayons scattered everywhere, a half-finished drawing of a snowman in her lap. And I thought, I've never been less alone in my life. At 11:59 p.m. Jenny and I took sparklers out to the porch. We stood in the cold, letting the tiny lights hiss and burn in our hands. I thought about all the years I spent trying to earn my parents' approval, trying to win some invisible game where the rules kept changing. This year I didn't lose anything. I let go of something heavy. And that, finally, was freedom. January 1st arrived without drama. No new messages. No voicemails. No passive-aggressive emails from my mother. The silence was so complete it almost felt unnatural. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for my dad to send a cold, clipped text or for Brian to attempt one of his fake peacekeeper routines. But nothing came. And I realized something. They weren't quiet because they understood. They were quiet because they were regrouping. But for now I took the win. That morning my daughter and I made pancakes in our pajamas and ate on the floor in the living room, laughing at a cartoon she'd already watched 3 times that week. I kept waiting for her to ask about them, about her grandparents. She didn't. Not even once. It wasn't that she forgot. It was that she'd learned, just like I had, that we didn't need to keep chasing people who were never going to show up for us the way we deserved. But the world outside our home didn't stay quiet. By January 3rd it started. My parents began calling relatives. Not to explain. Not to take responsibility. But to spin a story. One where they were the victims, I was the villain, and my daughter was a pawn in some imagined vendetta. Aunt Rhonda left me a voicemail that afternoon. He said, "Karen, I just wanted to say, I don't believe half the things they're saying about you. I saw how they acted at Christmas. And at New Year's. They were unhinged. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." That same day, Cousin Lisa messaged me again. "They told everyone you screamed at them on the phone. Said you threatened to never let them see Emma again. But when I asked why, they just said, she's always been jealous of Brian." Jealous. That old chestnut. I could have gone online, defended myself, written a point-by-point breakdown of every bill I paid, every lie they told, every manipulation they ever used. But I didn't. Because I realized something else. I didn't care. I truly didn't. Their approval, their love, their little circle of people who believed everything they said, none of it mattered anymore. Instead, I did something better. I took my daughter to the park that weekend, then to the Children's Museum the next day. We made a list of fun things to do for the rest of winter break. We bought matching mugs. And when she drew a picture of her family for her class assignment, it was just her and me. 2 stick figures holding hands, a heart between us, and our cat wearing a crown. I didn't cry, but I kept the drawing. It's taped to the fridge now, right next to the calendar where I've crossed off each day since we walked out of that Christmas disaster. The longer I stayed away, the more things came into focus. I started noticing how much energy I had. How much better I slept. How I didn't feel that constant knot in my stomach waiting for the next guilt trip or demand or subtle insult dressed up as advice. I started cooking again. Not rushed meals but real food. I stopped checking my phone every 10 minutes. I laughed more. I was still angry sometimes but not in the same way. It was quieter now. Less sharp. More like looking at an old bruise. The silence from my parents wasn't peace. It was Cold War silence. But the difference this time was I wasn't playing anymore. They weren't just cut off from my money. They were cut off from me. And that's what really burned them. Brian. He disappeared completely. Not a word. Not a text. Not a single attempt to check in on my daughter. And honestly that hurt more than I expected. Not because I wanted him to take my side. But because I finally saw him clearly, not as my brother but as someone who never once stood between me and our parents even when they were wrong. He was comfortable letting me be the scapegoat as long as it meant he stayed the favorite. Let him keep it. The last message I got about my parents came from someone I barely even know. An old neighbor who ran into them at a grocery store. She said they were telling people their daughter abandoned them. That they looked devastated. That my mom called me stubborn and stupid in the same breath. I said thank you then deleted the message. I was done collecting their cruelty. 2 weeks into the new year I finally understood. I didn't ruin Christmas. I didn't destroy our family. I ended a cycle. And the only thing I feel now is relief. Some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to be closed. Quietly, firmly, and forever. The first update. It's been just over 3 months since that Christmas and I wasn't planning to post anything else. But something small happened yesterday and it brought everything full circle. My daughter came home from school with an invitation in her backpack. A birthday party. I flipped it over and froze. It was Brian's daughter. Apparently they're in the same art class on Wednesdays. I didn't know. The invite was sweet, hand-drawn with stickers. It said, "Hope you can come." My daughter saw me staring at it and just said, "We don't have to go if you don't want to." I asked her if she wanted to go. She shrugged and said, "I don't know. I don't really talk to her." So I said okay we'd skip it. And that was it. No tears. No questions about why we don't see grandma and grandpa anymore. No lingering sadness. Peace. I tucked the invite into the drawer with her old drawings and thought about how far we've come since that day in December. She doesn't carry it. And neither do I. Not anymore.